Welcome to the Oasis. My name's Mike, and today I'm back in the studio after my trip to California and straight back into it with a video about the brand new HTC Vive Cosmos. Now, thanks to HTC who were kind enough to send me out a Cosmos to review and check out on the channel so I could share my first impressions with you guys and girls. So in this video, we're going to be seeing what comes in the box. Then we're going to be checking out how easy it is to set this headset up, which should be easy now that we don't have to worry about any base stations as it uses inside-out tracking. And then I'm going to be testing it out with some games, and then finally giving you my first impressions and any tips and tricks that I learn along the way. I hope you guys and girls enjoy this video, and without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with what comes in the box. Now, everything inside the box has its own little compartment, and the unboxing experience feels like a premium one. You get 4 AA batteries for the controllers, as they take 2 AA batteries each. You get a link box, which sits between the headset and your PC, and has a button on it which you can use to turn the headset on and off. You get a power adapter, one which will be suited to your local region, a USB 3 to USB 3 cable, a mini DisplayPort to DisplayPort cable, 2 Vive Cosmos controllers, and the Vive Cosmos headset itself. Now, before I get into the details of the components and my first impressions, let's cover the setup. Now, the setup was really straightforward. I downloaded the required software from the official Vive website as instructed by a clear notice on the inside of the box. During the installation, the software installed Viveport and the required Vive software. The setup then asked me which headset I was using. After selecting the Cosmos, it installed the required software while showing me how to set up my IPD correctly and adjust the headset for optimal comfort, which was a nice little touch. I already had Steam VR installed, so I skipped that part of the installation, and then the installer showed me how to connect everything to the link box, and once that was connected, it prompted a quick firmware update for the headset. Once that was done, I installed the AA batteries in the controllers and quickly paired them with the headset itself. The installer then prompted me to put the headset on and run through the room setup. Now, just like on the Rift S and the Quest, I set my floor height by lowering the controller to the floor and tracing the outline of my play space using the pass-through mode. Once complete, I was prompted to apply a firmware update to the controllers, and that was it. The headset and the controllers were immediately recognized by Steam VR, and the setup process was complete. All in all, a smooth setup process which took no longer than 30 minutes. Now let's go over some aspects of the headset, and first let's talk about the comfort. Now, the Halo head strap is comfortable and it has an adjustment dial at the back so you can dial it in to your preference. But this design does allow the headset to wobble when quickly moving your head around. And this was the same deal with the Rift S and the PSVR, and this is why I tend to prefer baseball cap style head straps over Halo designs. But at the end of the day, this just comes down to personal preference. The flip up display at the front is a nice feature, but as I predicted, due to this design, the headset doesn't quite sit as firmly on my face as I would like, and allowed small amounts of light leak on both sides and around the nose gap, despite having a decent sized nose flap. The headset features a manual IPD adjustment, which is a welcome feature that was sorely lacking on the Oculus Rift S. The Cosmos can accommodate an IPD range of 62 to 72 millimeters. However, the Cosmos displays cannot be moved forwards and backwards, which is a real shame. Particularly with both the Index and the Rift S, I like to dial them in to get the lenses as close to my eyes as possible to get as much field of view as I can. Unfortunately, you just can't do this with the Cosmos. Now on to the audio. The built-in headphones are just fine and offer a similar sound quality to those found on the Vive Pro and the Vive Deluxe audio strap. The headphones click in and out and can be moved around for optimal comfort. These built-in headphones can also be completely unclipped from the head strap to use your own headphones if you wish, utilizing a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now on to the optics. The Cosmos features two LCD panels offering a resolution of 1440 by 1700 pixels per eye, running at 90 Hz. The field of view is the same as the previous Vive headsets at around 110 degrees. The Fresnel lenses used are almost identical to those used on the original Vive and Vive Pro, which means they have a small sweet spot which can take a bit of time to get into the optimal viewing position. Also, God rays are very prominent in contrasting scenes due to these lenses. Now onto the tracking. The headset utilizes 6 cameras for inside-out tracking, which is a shift away from the gold standard lighthouse tracking found on previous Vives. And sadly, this is where things start to go very wrong for the Cosmos. In my experience, the tracking was subpar and borderline not fit for purpose. If you look at this footage recorded from the new Arizona Sunshine DLC, you can see extreme controller drift and issues despite the headset being used in a well-lit environment, which is the same environment I use with all my headsets. Although the Cosmos has a similar tracking volume to that of the Rift S, it doesn't reacquire the controllers as fast after a loss of tracking. Despite the 6 cameras, I found even when just holding the controllers down by my sides, the tracking would be limited. When placing the controllers behind my back, above my head, and near to the headset, serious tracking issues would occur. Now, some of this is common in inside-out tracked headsets, but this was particularly troublesome on the Cosmos. Also, when one controller is in front of the other, tracking is quite frankly just awful. In other inside-out tracked systems, there are some predictive methods used when controllers are lost, however this doesn't seem to be the case with the Cosmos. And this brings me on to the controllers themselves. I do prefer this new design over the original Vive ones, however they're quite bulky and heavy. The thumbsticks and buttons do feel nice, and the thumbsticks click in all directions, so it has one up over the index controllers, but that's sadly where the praise ends. The grip button on the side isn't analog, it's just a clicky button, and this means that hand interactions in games, as shown here in the lab, just look unnatural. However, thankfully the trigger button is analog, and it appears as though the thumbsticks do have a capacitive touch sensor, although I don't think that's the case with the buttons on the top. The new addition to the design is the shoulder button, which is just above the trigger, and this is also just a clicky button, and I only saw this being used in the Vive Origin home environment when playing with the remote control car. It will be interesting to see if this button gets utilized by developers in the future, as this is a button that doesn't appear on any other controller. Now let's talk about Vive Origin and Viveport. Now the Vive Origin home environment is okay, but it lacks customization options and the ability to invite friends over. I think that most people will just likely use Steam VR as their platform of choice. And sadly, this is where even further serious issues arise. In my playtesting, I played Beat Saber, which worked absolutely fine. However, in both Superhot and Pavlov, my hands were stuck in the floor and couldn't be tracked at all. And finally, when I tried No Man's Sky, I couldn't even make it past the main menu. When I reached out to HTC, they stated that not all games offer Cosmos support right now on Steam VR or even on their own platform, Viveport. I'm surprised a universal binding isn't available through Steam VR right now, but this is the situation we're in. So if you've picked up a Cosmos, here's a couple of tips before we move on to my conclusion. When using Steam VR, you can double-click the left Vive button to open up the Steam VR menu. This is useful to turn down the volume, which was on max by default, and jump between different games. And secondly, although I haven't been able to test the controller battery life to its limits due to the lack of supported games right now, I would urge you, if you have bought a Cosmos, to buy some rechargeable batteries. I recommend the Panasonic Eneloops, which I'll link in the description down below. Now let's jump to my conclusion. So I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed, and unfortunately I just can't recommend the Vive Cosmos in its current state for a number of reasons. The first being game compatibility. As I showed in the video, from the small number of games I tested, the majority of them just simply didn't work with the Cosmos. In games like Pavlov and Superhot, the hands in-game were just stuck in the floor, and in No Man's Sky, I couldn't even progress past the main menu screen. If you bought the headset and can't play your favorite VR games, or you're new to VR and this is your first experience, it's going to leave you very disappointed. Another thing I noticed, particularly in Steam VR Home, I noticed a strange fishbowl effect in the headset, which was a little bit nauseating and kind of reminded me of when I tested out the Pimax with its strange distortion. The controller tracking of the Cosmos is very hit and miss, and this is especially noticeable if you're used to the lighthouse tracking of the Index or original Vive, or even the tracking of the Rift S and Quest. It's not necessarily the tracking volume that's the issue, it's the delay in having the controllers being reacquired by the headset after a loss. The controllers themselves are heavy and don't feature an analog grip button, meaning it's just a clicky button press to grip items in-game, which makes hand interactions in-game look strange. The display does look sharp, but the sweet spot feels very small, meaning that it'll take a bit of adjustment to get it looking clear, particularly with text. Also, whilst on the subject of the visuals, the Fresnel lens design means it suffers from the same god rays we experienced on the previous Vive and Vive Pro. The Cosmos, without any unique features like the mobile tethering solution teased at CES, the Cosmos is just another headset and an average one at best right now. So to wrap up my conclusion, if you're on a budget, the Rift S and Quest are the way to go. If money isn't an issue, the Index is the high-end headset for you. Okay, so there we have it, guys and girls. Sadly, a rocky start from HTC with the Cosmos, and hopefully in the coming weeks they can tweak the controller tracking and most importantly, get the compatibility sorted with most popular games on Steam, because right now at $699, it's not offering the quality experience of the competition, which is significantly cheaper. I'll do an updated video in the coming weeks, hopefully once these issues have been resolved. But let me know what you guys and girls think in the comments down below. Have you recently received your Vive Cosmos? Have you encountered some of the similar issues that I've experienced? I'd love to know in the comments down below. Leave a like if you found this video useful. Make sure you're subscribed for all my future content. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.